Well, hey folks, Real Monster with Jim Ritlin, and you know me, you know I love horror, whether it's good or bad, whether I see it in theaters, watch it on Netflix, Hulu, or Shudder, and I love Shudder. I'm going to sit down and watch it, and I watched 25 that were released this year alone, and some were great, some weren't, and some were shit. So yeah, that's really where we're at. Now, I have reviewed some of these in full-fledged reviews already, so I'm not going to really dive into too many details on the ones I've already reviewed, because some of these I did also cover once again on my top 10 favorite and least favorite movies. So don't be surprised if I skip over, some of the finer details, but I give you maybe the bullet points of like what I enjoy. But ranking them worst to best it was hard to rank the worst ones really, because originally I had Slender Man there. And nope, there were a couple that beat Slender Man. Hard to believe. And there will be spoilers, some spoilers in here, so just FYI, if you have any desire to watch any of these movies for whatever reason, you may see some spoilers in here, obviously. I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as I can. But we start off with Watch If You Dare, the worst horror movie I've seen this year. Now, I give it credit. It was a very cheaply made anthology horror movie where 4 movies, if you take out the beginning credits and the end credits, I swear to God, this movie is maybe 63 minutes. Seriously. 63, maybe 64 minutes. There's nothing wrong with doing an anthology horror where you do like just little bite-sized chunks and stuff like that. VHS actually proved that they could be done. VHS 2, Electric Boogaloo proved that it could be done. VHS Viral. We don't talk about VHS Viral because that was shit. And this Watch If You Dare is not the only anthology horror movie that's going to make its appearance on this list. But in this one, there's one called The Stylist. A redheaded, beautiful stylist goes absolutely insane. And there's no explanation for why. In the next film called Ink, a guy is attacking people, cutting the skin off that has their tattoo, and sewing it on himself. Lovely. The only one that's even kind of fleshed out, pun very much intended, is one called Foodies, and it's about a guy that's invited to a dinner party and finds out he's the main course. And then you have one called The Knobgoblin, where a guy is brought to this house and put in this basement to prove that this thing he saw as a kid that bit off his young brother's dick is not true. It is true. That's why it's called The Knobgoblin. Really, that one was actually the shortest one. It was about 4 minutes. It was ridiculous. Yeah, worst horror movie I've seen this year because there was nothing to connect these movies. Like, anthology horror actually has to have something where you kind of connect it a little bit, and this didn't. And only one of the movies was even halfway decent. Like, only one of the stories was like halfway decent. That was Foodies, and that one wasn't even that good. Yeah, this one was god-awful. Then we get to The Secret, an Indonesian horror movie where a girl gets in a car accident, and her boyfriend's there for her and everything. She gets in a car accident basically after seeing her boyfriend kissing another woman, and then gets in said car accident, and then is basically haunted by somebody, by a dead woman, by the spirit of a dead woman for a while. And why is she targeting her? Well, it turns out that there's more than meets the eye, and that the boyfriend may have more to do with it than you think. There are a lot of beautiful Indonesian women in this, and there's some picturesque locations. It's some decent lighting, but it feels very, very cheap. It's not a very good movie at all. It really isn't. And the conclusion, obviously, that the boyfriend did it is pretty much all you need. Like you could have guessed that from the very, very beginning, because it was a very simple story. It's a story about that thin. It was not very good. Then we get to Slender Man. Slender Man I covered at length in my worst movies of the year list, and also with the Derb. Is a dead meme. This should have been made as a found footage movie to just have a whole lot of fun with it. They didn't do that. Joey King deserves better. Every actress in this movie deserves better. This was bad. This was really, really bad, except you had the part. Ooh. Okay, made myself dizzy. The whole part where a girl and guy are kissing on the couch, and the guy does a weird shaky thing and stuff like that. And ow. But yeah, Slender Man was absolute bunk. It was just terrible. Truth or Dare. Everybody does their best Vincent D'Onofrio from Men in Black or Willem Dafoe being Willem Dafoe impression, where you have to play this game of Truth or Dare. You get sucked into it, and if you don't tell the truth, you die. If you don't do the dare, you die. If you chicken out, you die. And if you decide to, be an idiot, you die. I mean, but then again, everybody in this movie is an idiot, and somehow a couple people live. Lucy Hale is in this playing a college student. She's 32 years old. Now, to be fair, Lucy Hale looks very young, But yeah, this was really bad. No good horror. It should have been played strictly for laughs, and I don't think it was. It should have been played strictly to just, have fun, and it didn't. It should have had more fun with its concept. Because it should have been just a dark comedy. It should have not been straight horror because it wasn't horrifying. I don't know who thought that this would be horrifying. Blumhouse has made a reputation, has built up a reputation rather, of making horror movies and making them for really cheap and making a really good profit. So good on them. But Truth or Dare was absolute shit. It really, really was shit. And then we get to Strangers Prey at Night. Strangers Prey at Night, you may look at some of the other movies I have ranked below this one, so to speak, because I have Strangers Prey at Night in the top 5. The reason it's so frustrating is because I liked the first one. In this one, every character has to do something stupid. Like, any time anybody could have done anything, like shoot the killers, stab the killers, something like that, they picked the worst times to do it. They could have ended this movie about 30 minutes in if they wanted to. And they didn't. And it was everybody doing an exercise in stupidity, and then the killers were coming across more like they were these all-seeing beings that somehow they were able to see everything in this trailer park that didn't look inviting at all. Who the hell would take their family there, even if they knew somebody there, to go to this thing? This thing made Camp Crystal Lake seem like a great tourist destination. It did have Christina Hendricks in there. She's always good for a decent performance, and she's very nice to look at. And also you have the girl who was the daughter in Are You Afraid, or Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which actually wasn't a bad movie. But yeah, Strangers Prey at Night, 100% shit. And then there was this ending that was near the end was straight out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And yeah, don't watch it. Number 20. So here we go with more of the worst. Possession of Hannah Grace. Covered this shit, 100% shit. Shay Mitchell and the small cast did their best. This could have been released on Netflix, and I don't think anybody would have noticed the difference. It was 100% shit. Terrible adding, terrible scares. Nothing was good about it. I remember watching this thinking, this isn't going to be that bad. And 20 minutes in, I'm thinking, this could be worse. And it got worse. And it was a movie that just felt so unnecessary and was just there to make a profit. And it seemed also like a movie that had sat on the shelf for like a year. And they were like, okay, let's just shove it out in November. Maybe it made its budget back. I don't know. It didn't look like it cost more than $5 million. But yeah, it was really bad. Then we go to The Ritual, a Netflix movie. Guys are in the woods, find a creepy cabin, find a weird cult deeper in the woods in the mountains, and a weird creature that looks like they just mashed up a whole bunch of shit in the computer and said, that looks scary. It doesn't look scary. It looks like a moose with a skull on it. Like a wearing a skull head and stuff like that. Skullhead Moose actually should have been the star of this movie. In fact, Skullhead Moose should be a movie. I'm actually campaigning now for that to happen. It was just bad. You didn't care for any of the characters, and the one character that lived, you're just like, really? That guy? That's the guy that lived? And the monster is like nothing. It's one of the most lumbering, oafish, dumb monsters that you've ever seen. Yeah, The Ritual, whatever the fuck The Ritual is, well, I don't know how the hell that cult or, that group of people survived in the mountains for that long when they were that stupid and couldn't take care of one guy. So then we get to the Cloverfield Paradox. Cloverfield Paradox was shit. It would have been shit whether it was a Cloverfield movie or not. I might have been a little kinder to it if it wasn't a Cloverfield movie. But yeah, it's like it wasn't even originally supposed to be a Cloverfield movie. They just threw the Cloverfield stuff in there, including a Cloverfield monster that is about 10,000 feet tall. Somehow isn't crushing the entire planet there. This one was, it looked like shit. The Cloverfield monsters were eh. I don't get how in the world this movie got the funding it did. I mean, and it got such negative reviews. I'm amazed that Netflix didn't pull it. But then again, I think it might be a Netflix original, so I don't know why they would pull it. But it looked like shit. None of the acting, none of the performances were particularly bad, but it wasn't a very good movie. It was just an absolute abomination. And then we get to Kuntilanak, another foreign horror movie that I saw about a bunch of kids that end up summoning a Kuntilanak, which is a creature that takes children into a mirror. And then they have to find a way to kill this creature that keeps taking its friends into their friends into a mirror. And there's some weird comedy that doesn't work, and some scares that don't work. This has better atmosphere than something like The Secret. There are some cool set pieces, but it tries to be too much like where the kids are going to be like the kids from It, and do some exploring, and have some bad comedy. And it doesn't really have a whole lot of scares. It does have some better atmosphere. That's really about it. None of the kids are particularly bad in this movie either. I do want to say that much. And maybe it's just a generation, or maybe it's a cultural thing. And I just don't get it. And this movie maybe is a little bit better received in his home country. But it was not very good. It didn't look terrible. None of the special effects were bad. It just was not good. Then we get to Veronica. Veronica was called one of the scariest movies ever. Marketing campaign, clearly, because I didn't see anything scary about this. A girl is trying to save her, her siblings from an unforeseen force, a demonic force. And it goes a bit found footage-y and stuff and whatever, and it just... Who asked for this, and why does it exist? That's what I was asking myself. Who thought this was scary? Like, really, I did not think this was scary at all. None of the acting was very good, but it wasn't like, oh god, it's so offensive. I'm ranking this one a bit lower, or a bit higher on the list, like as far as like closer to the decent, because while it was a pretty shit grade movie, or grade A shit movie, at least you could see they were trying some stuff. It just wasn't very good. And then we get to Unfriended: The Dark Web, which I was originally going to rank this one a lot closer to the bottom. The reason I didn't is because, realistically, this one annoyed me more than it offended me. Some movies like Possession of Hannah Grace and Strangers Pray at Night and that kind of stuff, and Slenderman offended me. This didn't offend me, this annoyed me. And I remember doing a review when I was at the Derb's house, because I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do the review there. And it was really shitty, because the first one at least took place all on computers, and was a nice little, it was what it was. It wasn't a very good movie, but it was kind of little ingenious. This one just has people making stupid decision after stupid decision, and a guy in particular that if he hadn't made this one decision and stolen the computer, all this shit could have been avoided. And you didn't have any sympathy for the guy. I mean, I'm sorry, anybody that had any sympathy for the guy that stole the computer, I just don't understand how you could. He was a fucking idiot, and he deserved what happened to him. He was a fucking idiot. And sorry to say, but, none of the other characters were particularly likable in this. And there were these weird digital people that kept popping in and trying to kill everybody. That isn't scary, that's dumb. So whoever came up with this concept is dumb. And whoever wrote it is dumb, and hopefully can move on to a better movie. Then we go to Terrified. It's a Shudder exclusive. Now we're getting to about the middle of the ground. Terrified was an interesting concept, where there was these interdimensional beings, so to speak, that were targeting people in their sleep or trying to drag them to a certain dimension or something. It took place in this apartment complex in Argentina. I think it was Argentina. I don't exactly remember the country, but I believe it was Argentina. The problem is you can't distinguish two of the main male characters in this. And I didn't know exactly what was going on. I mean, I understood it towards the end. And then the guy that survives makes a monumentally stupid decision to go back to this house that he shouldn't. And everybody dies at the end, essentially, is what this movie is. It's needlessly confusing, because I get what they were trying to do with it, but whoever came up with this idea just needed to polish it a whole lot more. And there were some dark comedy moments that sort of worked and sort of didn't. But more often than not, it just wasn't very good. But not nearly the worst I've seen. Now we get to about the middle. The Devil's Doorway. 1960, it's in Northern Ireland. They're in a nun house. Not a nut house. This, old priest and this younger priest who's filming. It's film found footage style. And a lot of creepy shit's going on. Like a girl chained in the basement. And girls being treated like shit. And, oh yeah, an underground cavern full of a bunch of bones and a ritual taking place. Gee, I wonder who's doing that. Yeah, the nuns have kind of given in to the side of Satan, or one of the nuns has. Somebody has. The bottom line is, nobody really survives in this movie. It was okay. It wasn't that good. I mean, I was trying to be kind to it, because I could see what they were trying to do. But it sort of reminds me of The Devil Inside, and the problem is The Devil Inside started out fine and turned to shit. It's kind of what The Devil's Doorway did. So yeah, that one was not particularly all that good. There were some good atmospheric shots. The found footage stuff at times can work. The limitations of the technology in 1960, especially in Northern Ireland, did work in its favor. They did have a few tense moments. Special effects looked nice. Acting was but it was not very good. It really wasn't. It was very cliched and people doing some really, really stupid shit just to advance the plot, which happens in a lot of found footage movies. But this one was just like, oh, you shouldn't take her out of the cell, and oh, she bit somebody. Or oh, she's clearly possessed. And she was, and it was what it was. It was a dumb movie. But I've seen worse. And now we get to Bird Box. I did a full-fledged review of Bird Box recently, and I just did not get the hype of it. I just didn't fucking get the hype. I'm like, that's it? That's what people are praising? A basic movie with a decent concept, like in theory? That's what people are praising? I don't mind Sandra Bullock. She's good in some movies. She's not good in some movies. And you can say that about anybody. But this was just not interesting. Oh, you can't look at these creatures or you go nuts. And you either go nuts and kill yourself, go nuts and murder other people and then yourself, or you become possessed and you try to get others to join your side. Where these creatures come from? The problem is you can have a lot of things you don't answer if it's interesting, if you have interesting characters. And this movie did not have that. It was really, really bad. Like, I gave it the grade I gave it for a reason. Again, you can check out the review of Bird Box if you want. But now we get to Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories, I'd heard a world of hype about it. Martin Freeman has other actors in it, but Martin Freeman in particular I really like. I think he's very good, whether he's in straight horror, if he's in any kind of, dark comedy. He is really good. I think Martin Freeman is a very good actor. This has to do with a guy that is trying to disprove so many, paranormal stuff, so many paranormal things as a way to, assuade his guilt, because he's got some dark demons going on too. And there's three cases that this one older paranormal investigator couldn't figure out. And as time goes on, he's starting to see similarities and starting to wonder why some of this stuff seems familiar to him and why he's getting these feelings of deja vu. And then it turns out that it's all connected. And that maybe the guy is reliving some memories and stuff like that and and these events aren't actually happening anywhere except in his head. Ghost Stories I did not get the hype about it. I did not think it was very good. It had a couple decent moments. It was a much better anthology horror movie than Watch If You Dare. There was some good atmosphere in it. And the performances were fine. Martin Freeman seemed to be hamming it up quite a bit, but the conclusion, the revelation was just like, okay, that's the mystery. I assume that much. Then we get to Overlord. Overlord I just didn't enjoy. I just didn't. It didn't have enough fun with a stupid concept of zombies, zombie creatures, and creatures being created by the Nazis in World War II. I mean, and what excuse do you need to kill the Nazis? I mean, what excuse do you need to, know that Nazis are bad? In that time or this time. You fucking idiots, not knowing that Nazis are fucking bad. Fucking hell. But anyway, back to Overlord. Overlord just didn't have enough fun with its concept. It just didn't. It really should have had more fun with it. The main girl in it, she was fine. She was pretty. There was a couple decent performances, but nothing where I'm just like, oh wow, this is great. It wasn't like the body horror stuff was There were so many unanswered questions. I just didn't understand what in the world was going on with it. I mean, or at least let me rephrase that. I understood what was going on. I just didn't care. Now we get to Winchester. Winchester had Helen Mirren and was about the Winchester household, where she played the wife, the heir to the Winchester fortune, or she was actually, she was the heiress of the Winchester fortune, and she was building a bunch of rooms in this house, and continuously building and building because she was trying to house all the spirits killed by the Winchester rifle. Great atmosphere, some cool looks, a few okay scares. I mean, nothing really great, but just a lot of where, okay, this was shit at times. It was decent overall. Helen Mirren does not, phone it in. She actually really does try hard. And then again, Helen Mirren doesn't really have to try hard. She is a terrific actress. She does lend a lot of credibility to this. The problem is you don't really feel for the main protagonist. You really don't. You don't really feel for the doctor. You don't really feel for him. Again, some of the spirit stuff is kind of cool. The revelation of what it has to do with his wife is kind of stupid because you pretty much know the deal. And it does tease a possible sequel, Dear God, Please No. It was fine on its own. It just wasn't great. But now we get to stuff that was a bit better. We get to The Nun. The Nun was decent. The Nun should have been in my top 3. I fucking wanted to love The Nun. I liked it. It had too many jump scares, and The Nun also wasn't in the movie nearly enough. I originally gave it, I think, a B or a B plus in my review. Probably should have gone more like a B minus or a C plus. It had such cool atmosphere. I loved the Nun Valak, the one that was in The Conjuring 2, Electric Boogaloo. I wanted to like this one so much more. Teresa Farmiga, she was good. There was a nice tie-in to the first Conjuring. I liked that. That was cool stuff. I did enjoy quite a bit of the atmosphere and everything. The problem is a lot of the scares weren't all that good. Now, some of them were good. Some of them were effective. I wanted to like this one so much more than I did. I liked it, but I wanted to love it. I will still probably buy it because I have all the Conjuring movies, including the terrible Annabelle movie. But that being said, I really wanted to love this one, but I did like it. Now we get to the Meg. It's Jason Statham and a giant shark. Giant prehistoric shark. Should I go on? If that doesn't sell you on the movie, I don't know what will. It was fun. It was just a fun, stupid shark movie. It wasn't as good as Deep Blue Sea. I love Deep Blue Sea more than this. But it was fun, had some good jolts to it, and was just enjoyable overall. It was cliche as fuck, but they had fun with it. And that's really all I could ask for. And then we get to one that I just actually watched today. It was a Shudder exclusive, You Might Be the Killer. It had Alyson Hannigan, who is somehow going to be 45 next year, and still looks as good as she did in the peak years of Buffy. Seriously, Alyson Hannigan looks fucking terrific. In this one, it's a weird play on serial killer stuff where this guy calls Alyson Hannigan's character Chuck, a character by the name of Sam, calls Alyson Hannigan's character, and who works at a comic book shop and this kind of stuff and knows a lot about horror movies. He's covered in blood and called him panicking because a killer's after him. Well, it turns out that he's actually the killer. I mean, sorry, it doesn't take really that much longer to figure it out. They unravel this mystery, and there's this haunted mask, and these camp counselors are being killed. And it's told in flashbacks and present time and this kind of stuff, but it's told with such a dark comedic undertone and a general self-awareness, not where it's winking at the camera, but where it knows that it's a stupid concept. And Shudder did a really good job just having fun with this. Like, at this point, slasher movies, you have to have a whole lot of fun with them. And just, even if you're just making fun of everything and making fun of it all, you gotta have some fun with it, and that's what they did here. Pretty much wanted to put this in my top 5. I was between this and the next one. But this was a lot of fun. Now, yes, I haven't seen some horror movies that have come out this year. I should have seen a whole lot more. Unfortunately, my time is limited, and budget and money. Like, I can only see so many of these. Some of these I have to see at home. But You Might Be the Killer was really good. I mean, it wasn't anything great. It was silly. It was dumb. But it knew that. But it also had fun with it. I was pretty much just laughing and enjoying myself from about the word go. Because it knew what it was. It didn't try. It was clever. They had a whole lot of fun with it. And it was a breeze. It was a breeze to get through. I really did enjoy it. Even if it was a dumb schlock fest, it was fun. That's all I gotta say about that. Now we get to the top 5. Hellfest. I praised Hellfest quite a bit. I still praise Hellfest. Easy for me to say. I really did like it though. Just a throwback to slasher movies of the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Fun. It did have Bex Taylor Klaus in it, and I love her. Think she's great. The rest of the cast is pretty good. The sets were awesome. You don't really get to find out the motives of the killer. In this sense, it sort of works. It is also setting up a sequel, which means we're going to get Hellfest 2, hopefully not Electric Boogaloo. Though, let's be honest, getting a disco dance thing or getting a dance club, setting next time, that would be fun. It wasn't, I admit right now that I could totally see if people didn't like it. I did. I enjoyed Hellfest. Now we get to Halloween. Divisive. I enjoyed this sequel to Halloween. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis's character was great. The Michael Myers bringing back the original actor and then having a new actor obviously do the stunts was a great idea. I think that they did the best they could. Now, can I see why some people didn't like it? That's totally fine. Yes, I can 100% see why people didn't like it, but I did. Had a lot of fun with it. Really enjoyed it. Maybe cheered a little too much at the deaths. Maybe a little bit too much. Derb can verify that, and you can check out our full review of that also. But this was fun. This was really a lot of fun. I really did enjoy it. I don't know if I'm so sold on a sequel. Because maybe they should just leave it right here, because otherwise they're going to try to do a spin-off franchise, and don't know if that's going to work. But I'm willing to give it a chance. I had high hopes for this. And while maybe my hopes weren't quite met, I still really had a whole lot of fun with this. Then we move on to A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was good. Really good. Emily Blunt, John Krasinski were great in it. I don't remember the young actress's name, but the one that played the daughter, who plays the deaf daughter, is legit deaf. Great performance by her. Very authentic, obviously, since she's deaf. But it reminded me basically of The Last of Us. That's who John Krasinski's character reminded me of. It reminded me of the dad from The Last of Us. The fucking creatures that hunt by sound remind me of the clickers from The Last of Us. But it was still fun with a simple premise of having to live in a world without making too much sound. Like a Twilight Zone concept, but really, really fun. I really did enjoy A Quiet Place, but not as much as Hereditary. Toni Collette deserves a goddamn Oscar. She deserves an Oscar for that, or at least an Oscar nomination, but definitely, in my opinion, an Oscar. She was fan-fucking-tastic in this. Some great thrills, some great chills. It was silly, but it was also really good about family drama and family tragedy. They handled that stuff well, without going too crazy. Even though, Toni Collette's character did reach, insane points, she still was able to stay grounded and have fun. And, be such... You can tell everybody was having fun with their roles without winking at the camera, but she just was able to do so much good stuff in this. It was really, really terrific to watch her have this performance of a career. She's had some great performances before in The Hours, in Sixth Sense, in other things. But those are two performances that stick out particularly to me. The Hours is one actually that I think often gets forgotten about, is being a good performance of hers. Her and I think Julianne Moore and Nicole Kidman were in that also. And it just that was a fun movie, but that's not a horror movie. Hereditary was really, really terrific. And then we get to number 1. Suspiria. Big shock. I know, right? It was my favorite movie of the year. And with good reason. Dakota Johnson, Tilda Swinton are fantastic in this. I love the music, the cinematography, the horror elements, the thrills, the way, the way dance is pretty much a prevalent theme. But the chills and stuff like that, it was really good and a really fleshed out version of the original Dario Argento movie. This was terrific, and I hope that this director is able to come back for the next 2 installments, and they have a reimagining of the entire trilogy. This Suspiria is the first part of. It was really terrific. I really can't sing its praises enough. You have to check that one out when it comes out, because I don't think it's out in theaters anymore, so it'll be out on Amazon soon. But anyway, those are the 25 horror movies of 2018 that I've seen ranked worst to best. What are some horror movies that you've seen that were released this year that you enjoyed? Have you seen any of the ones on this list? Do you agree? Do you disagree with how I rank them? Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. It's been Real Aussie with Joe Redlin. My voice is giving out. I will see you soon.